welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. In the last video, I put together, well, half of what I'm hoping is going to be a nice versatile clamping system. It's fixture plate style, so it can be positioned in a great many positions on my portable workbench, and, well, it works really quite well. But unfortunately, by itself, it doesn't do anything. I need to make some clamps that are going to put pressure on the other side. So I thought the easiest way of doing that would be to put together some cam clamps. Unfortunately, there are a great many ways of doing cam clamps, as I've found out. So I decided I'm going to, well, start off with a simple one that's going to be really, well, quite robust. That's always one of my primary concerns whenever I make anything. I want it to be solid. And the other thing is I want to make sure it is, well, easy to do, and hopefully it will put enough pressure on whatever I am trying to clamp into place, and of course, do its job, which is to hold things nice and solid. So what I've done here is I cut a couple of square pieces out of a piece of 2x4 I had kicking around. It wasn't quite thick enough, so I'm going to do 2 layers. And my reasoning there is I want to make sure that I'm not just putting pressure at the bottom of what I'm doing. I want to make sure there's pressure going up the sides as well. So this is going to be 2 thicknesses of 2x4, which I am going to obviously have to round off. But yeah, it's going to be relatively easy to put together, which is nice. Now I thought I was going to use this. This is it's a mandrel I put together for rounding off acrylic. I used to make a lot of filters out of that. And well, I thought I'd do that, but then again I realized, well, I'm going to have to glue this all together. And I wasn't entirely confident that I was going to be able to get these off of it after they're all glued up. Because I want to make sure, obviously, that the hole is, central to all of it. And like I said, I wasn't sure if I glued it up separately and then put it on that it was going to work properly, because I want the hole to be smooth. So I decided to go this route. This is just a 1-inch dowel. I sanded it down just a little bit so that it would fit in there a little smoothly and leave some glue. And what I'm going to do is put the 2 layers on that. And in time, what I'm going to do, of course, is I have to cut all that off. This is central. This is a hole right in the middle of this thing. And, well, obviously that's not going to work because you have to have a cam action, so that has to be offset. But I'm going to start off this way. I want to make it nice and round. I want to have a good round block system. I want to make sure everything is uniform and, of course, nice and solid. So I'm going to glue this up. I've never actually ever used the lathe with a glue-up system. So I've always used some form of clamping, and I'm obviously quite confident in that sort of system, especially that mandrel. I've used it. I have no idea how many times, and it was actually large enough to do this. But like I said, I didn't want to end up ruining it or end up not being able to get whatever I'm putting together here off of it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clamp this all up, let it all set, and then once it's all fully solid, I think I left it for actually quite a few days. First off, because I was busy, but secondly, I want to make sure everything was really, really well set. I didn't want to have any issues with, this breaking apart. And like I said, I've never done this with glue before, but I've had a great deal of success with pretty much everything I've used with a dowel system, which is pretty much what this is. And I've never had any of it fall apart. I pounded on a whole pile. I made a couple of hammers and that sort of stuff. So I'm not concerned about it falling apart, but then again, I said I've never used it on a lathe. So there you go. This is what it came out like, and it doesn't really matter that they're not evenly set there, because this is all going to get turned down to round. So I'm going to cut off that end bit, and then to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to knock off the edges here so that I have less to turn down on the lathe. Not necessary, but it will probably take about 5 minutes off of the process of turning that down. And it does chatter quite a bit initially if you have just edges that you're trying to turn down. So it will, like I said, it'll make it easier and faster. And I don't want to jar it too much, again, of course, because this is glue, and at this point I was really concerned. As it turns out, it was not a problem at all. It is solid, and I'm very happy about that. So I'm not going to show you all this. I'm just going to knock off the first couple of corners, and then we're going to put this on the lathe. The dowel sticking up there is where that's going to stick in, as you can see here. And yep, this is really quite rough, but it turns down really fast. it's wood. This is a metal lathe, so the forces that being put on it were, like I said, only concerning as far as the glue goes. So I'm just going to show you bits and pieces of this. I think it took in total maybe 5 minutes to turn this down to round, and that's all I'm doing is I'm just turning it down to the point where all the edges are off and it's nice and smooth, and then I'm going to sand that, and that is going to be my cam action. So again, it's like not very difficult to do. It is probably the hardest part, I suppose, is making sure it's nice and smooth. So I used to have a belt sander, a small one I used to use for aerosing glass when I was cutting glass, and well, I still have some of the old belts. Unfortunately, they're so old now. This is one of them here, that the glue holding them together to make it a belt fell apart, and they're useless for that now. But they're great for this, I found. It's a nice 120 grit, and yeah, let's see, it turns it down nicely, and it's nice and smooth. And then what I'm going to do is take it over the bandsaw again. It did it off camera, and as you can see here in a second, that mandrel, or well, dowel, is cut off. I'm going to shove this in this way, and then I'm going to face that, get rid of all the roughness, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then of course I want to make sure they're identical as in far as, you know, the thickness and everything goes. Not really necessary, I know, but it will look nicer in the end. So I'm going to sand this, turn this down, and then I'm going to sand it down and get them as close as possible. It wasn't hard. The difficult thing about trying to get things similar with wood is it just simply doesn't have the same sort of ability to be turned down as metal does. Well, at least on a metal lathe anyway. So there you go. My two blanks. Well, I can't have that central hole because, like I said, there's no cam action. So what I'm going to do here is drill a hole off to one side. Well, near the side, I should say, because it doesn't really matter. It's all symmetrical, and it will always come out no matter where you drill the hole. So I'm just going to make sure they're the same. And I'm going to drill down quite a ways because I want this, again, to be solid. I think I'm going a little overboard in the solidness of this one, but again, it's always better to overkill your solid aspect of it and make it robust than to have it fall apart on you. I probably should have made this out of hardwood, I'm thinking, because of the ability to make it a little bit smoother. And also the other thing I noticed when I was doing this is when you're drilling through pine, yeah, it gums up stuff. And anyway, it was fine in the end. It's like I said, this is just a test. There are so many ways of doing cams, and I will probably try one more or two more out if there's any call for it, or if this one doesn't work, if I don't like the amount of pressure I could put on it. So I'm going to drill these two holes, and then that's going to be where it pivots. So I have a lot of meat on one side and less on the other, so it has a nice cam action to it. And the other thing I need to do is flip this 90 degrees so I can put a handle on this. And I decided to make the handles really quite long. I was thinking along the lines that maybe it'd be a good idea to be able to put as much torque as possible on this. Again, I don't know how much is necessary, but there you go. That's the first step. And yeah, as it turns out, like I said, it is really quite solid. This is the 90 degree now. The only thing I had to be reasonably concerned about here, I'm not sure how much it matters, but you'll notice that the dowel that I use for turning it down and the hole I put into it are vertical. That way this is, again, like I said, 90 degrees to it. And I decided to go right in the middle. I don't think this is going to cause any integrity issues because, again, like I said, it's really quite solid, but it is right on the seam. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not really sure if that really matters at all, but I wanted to have a relatively central location for this, so any forces I'm putting on it are, like I said, going to be even. And I'm going down like 2 inches, so it's, like I said, it's going to be really quite robust. But the other thing I noticed is, as I was drilling these, is of course it is passing past the hole for the other dowel. So what I'll have to do is glue that one in place. As you can see here, you know, it's nice and even and everything works properly. But I have to, once I glue this in place, you'll see here in a second. Oh, I'm not going to show you. Never mind. I know the clip coming up a little later on where it is obviously going to be shown, because I have to. There, you can see it just a little bit right there. It sticks up into the hole, and these have to go into it to show the to get the force on it for turning it. So it's going to stick it in temporarily, and that's pretty much what it's going to look like. Except, of course, it's going to have to. After the glue sets the first time, which doesn't take very long, it just has to be enough that when I use the drill bit, that it doesn't knock things out of place. So there you go. That's the dry run fit for it. And now it's going to glue that up. Let that set for like a really short period of time, like 5-10 minutes, and that is the thing I need to get rid of. And I did it. I just stuck it back in the mill and drilled it down, and I think that's actually going to add more strength to this, because there is now a round part on that central pivot, and now what it's going to do is it's going to fit obviously into this particular part here, and I'm going to just pound that in place, and it's all going to be held together. I mean, like I said, this is almost at the strength of being a hammer itself, and the only thing I guess should be maybe moderately concerned about is this is round. There's no gradual change in its surface. It's going to immediately and very quickly, as you can see here, clamp. Now it's nice and soft, and it turns out it actually really grabs really quite well, which I'm very happy about. But I'm going to have to work with this. I'm going to have to work with this for a little bit, see if it's doing what I want it to do, and if I get enough of a grip on it. I'm only using one here at the moment, but you're obviously going to need two. Anyway, leave comments. Let me know what you think about this. See if there's any other style of cam that you prefer. But I think these are going to work out at least reasonably well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.